Good morning, UNISA students. I want to welcome you in this session of Academic Literacy Workshop. My name is Mrs. Madima. I'll be helping you or taking you through academic literacies. So maybe to give you a background that UNISA, it's an ODEL institution. This acronym ODEL, it means that UNISA, unlike other contact university where you wake up in the morning, go to the university and have a lecturer in front of you, this one is an open distance e-learning or online learning, which means that we work a little bit differently from contact university. Hence now we have various support programs so that we can support you in your journey of your studies. So hence we have various support programs that we will be supporting you. The first one, like I indicated, is academic literacies. So these academic literacies, this will be the program that will support you in various ways. We have 4 to 5 types of literacies that we will be supporting you with. I have just on my slide here, as you can see, just indicated the 3 main literacies that we will be supporting you with. The first one is the study skills. The study skills will be helping you as an individual, you know, in your cognitive skills. Cognitive skills meaning your thinking skills. When you are confronted with your material, you know, there are the language forms that will be used there. So how do you then manage to make knowledge and then think to apply whatever that you are learning? So this is one of the very critical skills, because for you to be able to understand what you are reading or what you are studying, you need to apply your mind. You need to understand the language that is being used there within your discipline. And it is really true that language, sometimes it becomes a barrier, because in an academic field, you know, we use a very formal language. So, I mean, for most of you as students, you find that English, which is the medium of instruction, it is your 4th or 5th language. So how do you then be able to understand? How do you then apply your mind, your cognitive skills to understand what you are learning? So this is now through this program of academic literacy where we can refer you to our other sister programs like DCCD, where they will take you through the study skills, the soft skills. So this is one of the literacies that you will need in your studies. And then the second one will be the academic socialization. So what do we mean by this academic socialization? Academic socialization is where now you will be able to understand the rules of the subject or the field that you are studying in. For instance, you students, you will be studying in different fields. So each and every field, it has got its own rules. It has got its own jargon or the language that is used there. So when you are studying, we support you by equipping you with the skills which will enable you to be acculturated in that subject-based discourses, because you will be engaged in the discourse within your field, so that you are able, to understand, you are able to write in the way that that field, do their writing. So, and the third one will be what we term academic literacies. These academic literacies, it's concerned now with the meaning of what you are studying. You are able to make meaning of whatever that you are reading in your field of studies. You are able to understand even the nuances of that particular field. You are able to have power, that you are able to engage with your fellow students. You are able to engage with your fellow scholars, and then you'll be reading what the scholars within that field are saying, and then you are able, to form or to make meaning and develop some new knowledge. Because as a student, when you read or when you study within your field, the main idea is that you will also contribute, you will also produce knowledge, new knowledge, after some scholars have done the research in that particular field. So academic literacies equips you, it gives you all those skills that will make you be this student who will succeed in your studies, and then you will also contribute in that field of study. So I can even mention some of the other literacies that you will need in your studies. You will also need skills like information literacies, which is now how do you source for some information, maybe from the articles, from the library. How do you get the articles that are relevant to your studies? We also have now literacies like how do you navigate through the system or your computers and whatever. So all those things, to say, if now you have to go through to my UNISA, how do you navigate? So those are the literacies that will support you as a student, so that you can succeed in your studies. So for you to acquire all these skills, we are going to take you through step by step. We are going to give you the strategies, the skills to say, how do we then acquire all those literacies? First and foremost, as students, you know that when you register, you're going to get your study material. So the issue now is that how do you approach your material? How do you read? That's why now we have indicated to say, how do you read for academic purposes? For you to be able to read well, or maybe to pass your assignments and do well in your exams and whatever, you need to have reading skills. I have taken some expressions that you need to bear them in your mind, to say, reading as an academic student, it should be a priority, not an option. You don't opt to say, today I read, no, today I don't feel like reading. Reading, it's a priority. When something is a priority, it's a need, it's a necessity for you to do well. You don't opt to say, no, today I'm tired, today I'm not in a mood. No, there's no mood here. You need to read. You need to prioritize in your reading. And another bullet that I'm emphasizing on the issue of reading for academic purposes is that reading can never be replaced by technology. Sometimes, we think because, we're living in this technological world, then technology will just replace us, to read. No, technology in essence, it enhances your reading or your studying. Because when you're reading for academic purpose, remember, you are studying. So technology will enable you, to understand some of the concept better. It makes you, it's easy for you to get even the information, because, for instance, if you're looking for a meaning of a terminology, you can quickly go to Google, type the word, and then you can even press if you want the pronunciation of that word. So technology enhances your reading or your study. And the other a line or phrase that I found it very, very, very fascinating is that, when you first go to school, you learn to read. Your teachers will take you through to say, this is how you read. But later, which is now, as students now, as academics, you read to learn. So when you are reading there, you are learning, you are formulating, some new knowledge. So it's no longer just a matter of reading just for the sake of reading, but you read to learn. And when you learn something, then you are able to comprehend, some of the things that you didn't know. So reading should be done with comprehension. By comprehension, we just mean the ability to decode and to understand whatever the text that you will be reading. It could be visual, it could be written text. So you decode, you decode the meaning to say, what is this concept, or what is this text that I'm going through mean, and how can I make it more understandable? So you need to read with comprehension. So for you to read with comprehension, I'm going to show you the reading techniques. There are 2 reading techniques that will assist you in your reading. The first one is skimming. And what do you mean by skimming? Skimming is when you are reading the passage quickly. And the reason why you need to read quickly is because you will be reading a lot of materials. So if now you don't acquire this skill of skimming, then it will take you, maybe hours just to read a chapter, or to read whatever the text that you have been given. So we give you the skills to say, skim through, because now when you are skimming through, you are able to find the main ideas in the text. You are able to ask yourself, when you're reading, you're asking yourself what I call the 7 WH questions. Who, what, where, when, why, how. So when you are reading a text, you're asking yourself, what happened? Where did this happen? So you're formulating the questions. You're searching pieces of information like dates that will help you maybe when you are responding to the questions, the names and then the events that happened there. Then, because you are skimming through, you don't have to read each and every line. You skip now to the last paragraph to find what is the text all about. You take the first paragraph, read it quickly, you jump to the last paragraph, which will encapsulate the summary or the conclusion, so that you can get the main ideas You link what you read on the first passage, finding the main ideas, jump to the last paragraph to find the summary or the conclusion of the main ideas. Then you will be able to make meaning. Remember, I said academic literacy, it's when now you make meaning of what you are reading or of the text that you are reading. So after you have skimmed through, another technique that you will use when you are reading is what we call scanning. Scanning, normally we think, is when you put a document on the machine and then it scans through. Yes, even in your reading, you will do a lot of scanning, which is now the information which will help you maybe to quickly find the information that you need, like you want to know what time is the bus leaving. Say you are studying and then now you have to catch a bus and then go home and whatever. So quickly you scan through the information. Okay, this is the timetable of the bus. This is the timetable maybe of the load shedding. We have now load shedding schedules where we need to know that, we have got for 2 hours we won't be having a power. So all that information we call you scan it through so that you will be able to know to say, okay, if from 5 to 7 we don't have power, then I can take a nap and then I can wake up, and then so all those things, it's the information that you will need as a student. So these skills that we're giving you, it will help you, to be able to be on the look to say what is happening. Now, I spoke about the two strategies. So now, here are the tips now in detail to say, if you have to read, say you have registered 6 modules or 7 modules, I mean, it's a lot of reading that you need to do. Therefore, you need to be able to read faster. And then reading faster doesn't mean that you just read like a newspaper. Remember, you are reading for knowledge. You're reading to learn. So if you are reading to learn, what are the tips that will help you now to go through this lot of material? Like I highlighted on the skimming slide, you read only the first sentence of the paragraph, and then you are able to get the keywords. You are able to get the key concepts. You are able to get the main ideas. Then you skip to the last sentence of the paragraph, and then to say to find out what is the author saying on the first paragraph and then on the last paragraph. Then you link those key concepts or the key ideas, and then you start now extrapolating the keywords, the phrases, and then you remember you are reading fast. You ignore some little words such as it, to, be, all those articles. You ignore them, because remember all that you are focusing on is to get the gist of the matter. What is it that the author is saying? So your focus is on the keywords, is on the key concepts, is on the main ideas. So you look for those key points, and then when you are reading, you are marking, those thoughts, those main ideas on the margins. And then you use all the tools that are provided, the list, the bullets, the sidebars, and then you take notes, and practice. You compose your own possible questions, because you know that eventually, after you read, you are going to answer to the questions. There will be questions that you will be needed to respond to in your assignment, in your exams. And what is very, very critical, something that maybe we think, it's not important, is to read with a good posture. When you are reading, when you are studying, you can't be studying and then you know, in bed. You cannot say you are studying. How are you going to take notes? How are you going to mark whatever the key thoughts, the key ideas and whatever? So make sure that when you are reading or when you are studying, you must have a good posture. Good posture meaning you are sitting upright on a proper chair, and then so that you can be able to take notes and whatever. And lastly, you need to practice. Reading needs a lot of practice. You know, I cited an example to say if you want to be a superstar of some kind, whether soccer or netball or whatever, you need to practice. You cannot be a superstar that does not practice. So even the reading, you need to practice and practice and practice. And by practicing, it means you must read a lot. As a student, you need to read a lot. So brings me to the benefits of reading. I indicated that reading needs practice. So by practicing to read, you improve your spelling. You know, when you see the word, you know, over and over and over again, you are able now to improve your spelling, to say, oh, okay, this is how the word pneumonia it's spelled, because you will see now that no, it's not what you thought. You know, the way that you pronounce it and the way that you spell it, those they are different. But the more you see the word pneumonia, psychology, you will never thought that there is a P on psychology, but there is. The more you see that word, you are able now to spell it better. So those are the benefits of reading. It extends your vocabulary. It develops your comprehension. The more you read, the more you develop your understanding of things. The more you stimulate your mind. You know, I indicated that if there is something that is addictive, you know, is reading, which is a very good addiction for you as a student, because once you are addicted in reading, the day does not go by without you reading, whether it's your study material at UNISA, whether, remember, you will have prescribed books that maybe will be prescribed for your whatever the modules that you're doing. There will be recommended books that you need to enhance whatever that you are studying. So it is very, very important to develop the habit of reading, because now you are not going to focus only on your prescribed book, whatever what has been prescribed for that particular module. Then you are able to source some more information so that you can have more knowledge. You can expand your mind. What are other scholars or other theorists or whatever, what are they saying about this particular subject matter? So reading is very, very, very beneficial for you as a student. So hence now you must be able to read in the right way. You need to have skills of reading. It's not something that just come automatically. It's something that you develop. It's something that you acquire. And then the only way you acquire it is through reading. You know, it is also good to develop a habit of even reading for entertainment and enjoyment. You know, it's very good because when you read a lot, you even for entertainment, it is good for you because you learn a lot. You know, I normally say, when you are a student, you need to be up to date with current affairs. Hence there I have an expression that well-read people are interested and interesting. You know, you become an interesting person when you read a lot, because you have information, your vocabulary is expanded, you are up to date with current affairs. Because let me tell you, whatever that is happening in your environment, I mean, most of us, we are here in South Africa, you need to be up to date, you need to be up to speed with the current events, because the knowledge that you're supposed to develop, it does not come from the sky. It comes from what is happening within your environment. So I will encourage you to read a lot. You know, reading should be a culture. We need to resuscitate the culture of reading. Yes, I know you can watch your soapies and whatever, maybe just to relax your mind. But let me tell you that reading as a student will take you very, very, very far, and you will succeed actually in your studies. So I have taken a comprehension test, which deals with the critical reading, because remember, as students, you know, you have to be critical. You must be critical thinkers. You must be critical readers. You must be critical writers. So I just took this comprehension or this text so that I can read for you, because even when you are reading, you need to follow you know, all these commas, the exclamation marks and whatever, because that's when you read with meaning. Is that reading with comprehension, to show that you understand what you are reading. So all those diacritic marks, you know, the commas, the full stop, it shows you that you understand that now I'm rounding off a sentence. Now this, when I have a comma, it's like you saying end this, end. So when you read, don't ignore those diacritic signs, because it sort of interprets the meaning of what you are reading. So I just want you to listen to me when I'm reading. You will be following me so that you can follow all the diacritic signs. So I took this a text which says why biodiversity matters. Food, fresh air, clean water, medicine, a stable climate. Life on Earth provides the essentials of daily living for everyone. Wildlife inspires and fascinates us, and our open space are there to enjoy. Not only are species and habitats valuable in their own right, it is in our own interests to take care of them. That is because our future is bound up with a healthy, thriving natural world in all its diversity. But we are in danger of losing the range of a variety of life on Earth. 1 in 4 mammals species, 1 in 8 species of birds, and potentially millions of smaller species could face extinction. Wildlife habitats are disappearing at an alarming rate. This loss is already a problem for millions of people around the world, particularly if they depend on the land for a living. In damaged environment will hurt us all. So when I'm reading here, if you listen to me carefully, I'm trying to follow all the diacritics, and so that I can interpret the meaning of this text. So this is how you should read, but you know, you need to be applying all those techniques that I have shown you. You skim through, you're asking yourself the WH question when you are reading such text, because you know that at the end you are going to respond or answer to the questions that will be in a form of your assignment, your portfolio, your exams. So this text, it makes us to think. You know, it applies to all of us that are, if we don't take care of the environment that we live in, if we kill some species, you know, that we have in our environment, because now when they say the smaller species could go into extinction, they are facing extinction. So it means then we are not taking care of our environment, and the dangers of not taking care of our environments, it's a very something that affects our lives. I mean, recently you might have seen the failed fires in Cape Town that destroyed UCT libraries and whatever. So, you know, the issue of biodiversity, it's very critical. So we need to take care of our environment. So you see now what I'm doing now, I was reading the text with comprehension, with understanding, and I can also apply, you know, the knowledge to say, wait a minute, what is this text talking about? And then, yes, then I can give it even a topic to say, if we don't take care of our environment, or the effects of not taking care of the environment, because now we are losing some species. So what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to interpret what the text is all about, you know, about the climate, about of not taking care of our environment. So when you are reading, formulate the question. You can come up with your own topic because you are reading it critically. You are reading it with understanding, with formulating the knowledge, even the new knowledge. So I'll be referring to this text as we will come to the aspect of writing. So after we have, I have read, or you have read the text, that in your case, it will be your study material that you will be reading. Remember, the ultimate goal of reading is to write, where you're going to put pen to paper. So now, after you have mastered your reading, you have made your notes, you have paraphrased, now you come to the application, because the writing process now is where you are applying what you have read, what you have learned. Then you put it now to say, okay, now I have paraphrased, I have taken the, you know, the keywords, the key concepts, I've paraphrased, I've sifted what is chaff, and then you know now I have the gist of the matter. So the writing process, which is now where you will be answering to your exam questions, your assignment questions. So what is this writing process? How are you going to approach your writing? Because you don't just read and then just start writing. You need to do a lot of preparations, you know, before you start writing. I have described the writing process like a recipe. You know, when you follow a recipe is when you follow some instruction, maybe when you're cooking whatever the meal, to say you follow it chronologically. There should be some stages that you follow. You don't just, you know, just start writing and then how do I approach my writing? What is it now that you need to follow? You follow that your content, your format, your certain structure. You know, it includes a lot of things. Your language that you will be using, the punctuation, your spelling, because now you're going to apply what you read on paper now. So let me just expand on the issue of the recipe. For instance, let's take a very simple recipe of you maybe making your eggs. When whether you want your fried eggs or scrambled eggs, you follow some particular steps. You don't just take your fry pan and then put it on the stove and then take the eggs and then just put it. You follow some certain steps that take your frying pan, put it on the stove, and then you put the oil, whatever the oil that you use, you allow it to heat up. Then when you see that your oil is heated up, then you can put your eggs. If you are scrambling them, of course you will scramble them. If you want to fry them, you allow them to simmer. And so you see, each and everything that you are doing for you to have nice eggs, you don't just do it haphazardly and then you just put oil, put the eggs, and so everything. So it's the same with writing. When you write, you follow some particular steps. And in your writing, creativity and originality will always enhance your writing, because you're not just writing, like literally. Some of the things you have to analyze, you have to interpret, you have to come up with examples that are relevant, because there is so much power in writing, in how you write. Because if you don't follow the steps, your writing should be incremental. To say you start from this level, you come to this, you come to this. So there is no creativity there. There's no originality, because you need to showcase, to say, this is my observation. If I might refer to the text that I read, to say my observation in terms of taking care of our environment, or our this climate change, or taking care of the species that we have. I mean, you find that maybe you might observe that people maybe at the sea, people just throw some plastics there in the sea, and then those plastics, they are going to choke the habitats of the seas, the fish, the sharks, the whatever. So your observation, and then it makes you aware of what is happening in our environment. We take care of our environments. If you might have noticed now, you find that those plastic straws, they are no longer used now, even in restaurants and whatever, because the reason is that we want to take care of the environment, because people throw those straws all over, and then they ended up in the sea, and the inhabitants of the sea, they end up going into extinction, because when they eat those things, they choke, they die. So now with the process of writing, you have the observation, and when you write, you showcase your powers of what you have observed, even the knowledge that you have acquired, and even the recommendations or resolutions that you will bring. So I have highlighted to say the process of writing is like following a recipe. So now when you start writing, indeed you must have a plan. You must plan your writing before. Remember, we haven't even started to write. We're still planning. And this planning, it is done in a way that we call brainstorming. You brainstorm to say, how am I going to, to approach my writing? So you start by jotting down the ideas, you use the keywords and phrases, you formulate some plot lines, some flow charts, you mind maps. There are people who think before they do their writing, they think by maybe drawing boxes. Some they draw maybe lines or arrows, or some they draw pictures. It's then that they will understand, they visualize what is it that they want to approach this particular topic. So it is very important to say, please, before you write, brainstorm. But by brainstorming, if you just put that word literally, it's that there should be a storm in your brain. It's because you are thinking to say, how do I approach this piece of writing? If we refer to the text that I read, what is it that that text is telling me? What are the ideas there? Why should we have? How do you preserve, the species that might go into extinction? What are the measures that we need to take? So all those ideas that are in your mind, you are brainstorming them before you start writing. And simply, when you write, first of all, you will have your introduction. Your introduction is very, very, very critical, because the introduction sets the tone of the topic to be discussed. The topic that I gave there is on the text that we read, is that does biodiversity matters? So you can come up with your own topic, because you are setting to the tone to say, okay, in this topic of biodiversity, what is it that the text is, or the author is telling us? So you need to, in your introduction, they say your introduction should be short, it should be gripping, it should be enticing, it should be inviting. It means then the way that you will start writing your introduction, it should be gripping, it should be inviting to the reader, so that when the reader see the way that you have put your introduction, he will be captured, to say, no, I want to understand, what is this a writer, which is you now as a student, what is it that she is saying? You must use catchy phrases. The catchphrases will get the reader hooked, to be engaged in whatever that you are writing. I just gave an example there to say, if, for instance, you are given a topic that says, I remember how angry I was. So in your introduction, you can use even idiomatic expressions that it's sort of captures the mind of the reader, to say, if now this person is saying, instead of saying, I remember how angry I was, and then you start in your introduction, you just put an expression, idiomatic expression that says, the inferno within me began to blaze. So it's an idiomatic expression that shows that you were very, very angry. But you see, now you are playing with the language that will captivate the reader. So your introduction is sort of highlight what you will be talking about in the whole a piece of your writing, or in your comprehension text, or in the text that you will be writing. So your introduction is very, very, very good. It needs to be, you need to use some catchy phrases, and it shouldn't be long, maybe 5 lines, because remember, an introduction is a paragraph. So that paragraph shouldn't be long, maybe 5 lines, maximum 7 lines. Actually 7, I think it will be even longer, but at least 5 to 7 lines, because you are sort of highlighting what is it that you will be discussing. So that is your introduction. So once you have a good introduction, then I'm telling you, your writing, your paragraphs will just flow, because you will now be formulating your paragraphs, but the introduction sort of sums up or paraphrases what you will be discussing about. So the second aspect, of course, of your writing will be the body or the paragraphs. You know, the body, which is the development of events, a series of events that will be happening. It is formed by several paragraphs. Each idea forms a paragraph. If, for instance, you are in the text that we have just read, we are talking about to say, how can we then, you know, try to save these habitants? How can we save our environment? So each and every idea that you will be coming up with, it should form a paragraph. Don't lump or put together different ideas in one paragraph. So if you are thinking about, you know, the beauty of having all these species not to go into this extinction, so it means then one idea in this paragraph will talk about the good thing about this species. And then the other paragraph will say, how do we then save this species? What are the precautions that we need to take for us to save this species? So you see, each and every idea will be forming a paragraph, and those paragraphs will be escalating to the climax. Each and every idea increases, it escalates, it goes higher up until to the climax. And when you are writing those, you know, paragraphs, you need to show that your writing is developing to the climax. You use some linking words such as similarly, besides, because you are sometimes you are comparing, and then besides this is what we need to do. However, we can still save our species, so that, because we all need them in our environment for our welfare. So all those linking words, you know, you will be using them as you are coming with those paragraphs, and then up until they reach a climax, because you want to make sure that your paragraphs flow from this idea to the next idea, and then that writing, even when you are describing a scenario, it makes a reader to understand that, you know what, your paragraphs are flowing. You're flowing from this idea to the next idea to the next idea, and then incrementally, and then going higher and higher. So it is very, very, very important, because your body, actually, it is where all the ideas that you're having, the thoughts, you know, the what can we do, what can we not do, it's where you develop your argument or your discussion. Lastly, you will have your conclusion, which is some they call it the resolution. The conclusion is the last paragraph that ties up all the loose ends. And the word resolution there, where some of the authors uses, you know, referring to the conclusion, it's when now you remember, when you take a resolution, it's like when you are giving your recommendation or your views, to say, yes, when you conclude there, you will sum up, ties up all what you were discussing about. You're reaching the finality, The reader can tell that, you know what, you're coming to an end. So this is where now you also contribute to the topic to say, in my view, or, you know, this is how I feel about taking care of our environment, to say each and every, you know, community member or each and every person should take these precautions so that we can preserve, so that we must not have species that will go into extinction. And you can even use some other examples of what happened. I think you have seen that there was a time where people were killing these rhinos. They wanted to get the rhino horns and whatever. I mean, right now, as much as I'm not 100% sure about the, you know, the status of how many rhinos do we still have, how many died, but it's a large number, because people were killing these rhinos. You know, they've got this belief that those horns, they sell them to wherever and get large sums of money. So now, when you conclude, you also draw some of the examples of what has happened. How can we preserve these rhinos? How can we preserve, you know, maybe elephants or whatever? So now you bring your own understanding, you bring your own conclusion to say, you urge maybe the society to say, let us not kill, you know, these habitants maybe of whatever the species that we have, because they are very, very critical in the field of ecosystem. If you don't have some of these species, then the ecosystem is disturbed. So now you are coming up now with your new knowledge, because as a student, you need to develop new knowledge. Remember, research is somebody's knowledge that a person has studied. So you also contribute to your field of studies. So lastly, you will now, on your last sentence, which now you will be wrapping up, you must use strong words or a strong sentence that you close with, a sentence that will always stuck in the mind of the reader, because you are concluding with these very, very strong words, and which makes someone to think, you know, to say, okay, what is this student saying? Or it is you leave a mark, you know, because remember, as a student, you are also generating the knowledge, generating the new knowledge. So this is what the writing process is all about. It needs to be, you need to be original, you need to be, you know, critical, because you are also coming up with a new knowledge. So I came up with some stages of writing process. Remember what I have been explaining, it flows to this now, because now we are coming now to the final product, which will be the writing. So still, when you are writing, you must take some stages. You have what we call the pre-writing. Pre-writing can tie up with the brainstorming, because you are contemplating on how do I approach my writing. You know, you're asking yourself those 7 HW questions. You pose a question to yourself, you know, as you're writing, as you are reading the text, but then you are formulating now some questions. How do you contemplate, how do I approach this piece of writing? So this pre-writing, you are busy collecting and formulating ideas. You are mind mapping. Remember, I said some people think in boxes, some think in pictures, some think in drawing arrows. So now you are busy now a planning to say, this is how I'm going to approach my writing. No, I just gave a silly example of saying, if you are planning for a birthday party, obviously, you know, you start brainstorming, okay, this is the list of things that are needed on planning for a birthday party. Obviously, there will be a cake, there will be flowers, there will be, you know, a setup of your, you know, how you want the tables or chairs to be set up. So all those things, you know, they come under the pre-writing, because you are planning now to say, this is how my birthday party should look, this is the theme, this is the color. All those things, we call them free writing. It's pre-writing because you are just it's just some ideas, some list of things that you are thinking I will need. You will even draw some illustrations, okay? The guest of honor will be sitting here, you know. So all those things, we call it pre-writing. And then the second phase will be the drafting. Now you are putting pen to paper, the drafting phase. So I indicated there that the word draft just suggests a rough, preliminary written plan, because when you write, you must have your draft to say, okay, you know what, this is what I'm thinking will be my plan. You draft it. Drafting, now you are writing. You are writing your plan down, and then sometimes you substitute to say, no, this word is not relevant, and then you eliminate some of the words, you substitute some of the words to say, no, instead of using this, let me use this. So you are busy writing, but as you're writing, you know, you can write something and then you say, no man, I used this terminology is not suitable, let me use this one. So that is now your draft. You are drafting, you are writing on a paper now, scribbling. And then what is the purpose of this at the drafting phase? The purpose is to to organize your work, to be coherent, to be logical. Your paragraphs, remember I said your paragraphs, when you write your paragraphs, there should be a flow of ideas. There should be synergy. You know, they should be coherence. You don't just start by a sort of a concluding idea and then it comes before. So the drafting phase, it allows you to ponder, to think, to say, oh, okay, no man, this idea should come here. This idea should come. So you are organizing your work so that it should be coherent, it should be logical. So this is a very, very critical phase also in your writing. You know, if you want to get good marks, you know, some people, they have first draft, second draft, third draft. You know, a good writer, if he or she is writing about something, say for instance, you're writing your thesis, I'm telling you, you can have 4 or 5 drafts and say, no, this one doesn't make sense. You even change maybe your topic and then to say, no, this one is not suitable and whatever. So the drafting phase is very, very, because it's when now you sort of have something rough and then you look at it and said, okay, this draft, is it okay? Am I satisfied? So it's very, very critical to have a draft. You can't write once off and then you are done, especially in your assignments or your portfolio. You have time, you must make time actually to have a draft, second draft, whatever, up until you say, okay, no, I think I'm fine now. Then you come to the editing phase, which is the last leg of your writing. The editing phase is also very, very, very critical, because the word edit, remember now you had your draft 1, 2, 3, whatever draft, up until you said, okay, I'm happy with this draft. Now you go back to your draft and you edit it. Edit simply means to check and to correct before you click that submit button of your portfolio or of your assignment. So before you even think of clicking the send button, you need to give yourself time, hours, to edit your work. You check whether your spellings are correct, the terminology that you have used, is it fine or is it ambiguous? So you correct everything. So in so doing, you are revising the content of what you have written. You are organizing, your work. Is the grammar that I use correct? Is my presentation, up to, so you edit, you critique yourself because you say, no, this terminology is not, it's ambiguous. It has got double meaning, or it's not clear. So you ensure that your ideas, the ideas that you have presented there in your content, it's explicit. It is without any ambiguity. It's understandable. Every person, when you read that, a reader will be able to understand what you are saying. So that is the last leg of your writing process. You need to have your draft, you need to edit it thoroughly. Actually, I even suggest that maybe you can even give it to your peer or someone who can look at it with a different eye to say, please edit for me. Because some of the things, if you have done something over and over, then it slips your mind, it slips your eye. But if you have now a second eye that can pick some of the small things, then you are sure that your work, you are satisfied with the work that you have produced because you have followed all the steps that are needed. So in closing, my last slide will be referencing. Let me explain that I'm not going to deal with referencing in detail because the issue of referencing, sometimes the colleges, they prefer a certain style, but I'm just going to give you just a generic a way of referencing or even what it means. The purpose of referencing is to avoid plagiarism. Plagiarism, I have put it in a very strong words to say it's an academic criminal offense. I put it that way. Criminal offense is something that you can be jailed, that you can be fined and whatever. So, because I want you to take it very, very, very seriously to say, in an academic field, we don't plagiarize because that is considered as a criminal offense. There is a policy about plagiarism at UNISA, and you need to read that policy, because if you found to have plagiarized, you can even be expelled. Your studies can be terminated because that's a criminal offense. You don't take somebody's work without referencing. So hence there I put it in bold and in a very strong way. So UNISA uses a Harvard or an APA referencing style, and then as I've indicated, subject to discipline preferences. But this one that I've picked here, the Harvard and the APA, is the global one, which is used globally. So UNISA has adopted this Harvard or APA referencing style. So the referencing of Harvard or APA, you use the author's surname and the year of publication. Well, the details of referencing, I will give you maybe a topic on its own where we will delve deeper into the referencing. And then, but it will be prudent for you to also check what your department, what is the referencing style that they prefer. So why do we reference as students in our writing? The reason why we reference is to give credit or acknowledge the originator of the idea. The passage that I have read, you know, it's somebody's idea. So I need to acknowledge to say that passage that I read was not written by me. It's somebody else who wrote that passage. Therefore, I need to acknowledge the originator of the idea. And again, it shows that when you acknowledge, you prove that your work is based on solid research. You know, the beauty about academic field is that you read the work of which has been done actually by other scholars. And then all that you do is to acknowledge them. And then you can expand on that research to say, so and so, say we need to preserve our environment. And then give the reasons why we shouldn't have some of the species to go into extinction. Therefore, in your view, this is how maybe we should go about. So you are expanding on the research that was done by someone else. And it shows that whatever that you are contributing to the world of that knowledge, you are not basing it from nothing. You are also feathering the ideas of this scholar who said something about preserving our environment. So maybe I can indicate that we are going to develop a lot of videos that you can go and listen to the YouTube for each and every topic, because I thought that if we you know, maybe we go deeper or in detail with these topics, we might not even finish our workshop. But then it's better if we don't lump everything together, because otherwise it will be too much to consume. So we will be developing these videos that you can go and listen on YouTube on different topics like learning styles, referencing, you know, how do you approach your assignment question, how do you analyze them. So those are the topics that we will develop them individually, so that you know, you shouldn't have something too much, you know, to consume on this workshop. The workshop is just to lay the foundation to show you that you know, we will be supporting you in your studies, and there is a program called Academic Literacies and other support programs that different you know, colleges will be supporting them with. We also have e-tutoring that maybe you are familiar with. So I want to thank you for making time to attend this workshop, and I can assure you that this is not the end of this workshop. We will be supporting you throughout your studies. Like I said, we will send you the information that will let you know to say, now you can go to this platform and go and listen to details about referencing, details about learning styles, details about how do you read, how do you approach your assignment question, how do you analyze them, how do you synthesize the information. So we want to thank you so much for making time and attend this workshop, and we hope that this workshop will help you, will assist you in your studies. And lastly, we would like to request you to go and fill in the survey to say, how did this workshop help you? Did it help you? Will it help you in your studies and going forward? So there will be a link that will be sent to you for a survey for you to complete. I thank you.